Hi Crypt Keepers, thank you for tuning into Amy's Crypt. I'm currently standing inside the old Melbourne Gaol, thought to be one of the most haunted places in Australia. So let me show you around. Okay guys, we've just got inside the old Melbourne Gaol and I've brought you directly into cell number 13, good old lucky 13. I thought that this was a good place to go over the very dark history and the ghost stories of this jail. The jail dates back to 1839 and it was the only jail in the area of Melbourne. So there was a lot of criminals that passed through this place and they varied in age, gender and offence. It's interesting to note that the youngest person who was imprisoned here was just 3 years old. In the jail's 90 odd years of history, there were actually 133 hangings here. So it was a lot of executions as well as poor living conditions and overcrowding. So it makes sense to know that this place is thought to be very haunted. We actually have a number of infamous criminals that were not only kept here, but put to death here and hanged. One of them, which is probably the best known, is that of 25-year-old Ned Kelly. Ned Kelly is a very famous bushranger and outlaw here in Australia, and he is best known for the crude homemade body armour that he wore during a shootout. Another interesting piece of information about Ned Kelly was after he was hanged here, his skull was kept on display here at the old Melbourne Gaol for a long time, but it was stolen in the 1970s. We also have a serial killer who was imprisoned here known as Frederick Bailey Deeming. Now this guy is actually thought to be a Jack the Ripper suspect. He was originally from England but came over to Melbourne and he was in London around the time of those famous Whitechapel murders. He was actually hanged here in the late 1800s for killing his second wife here in Australia, though he had already killed his first wife and 4 children back where he began his life in England. I've also got another video lined up at a nearby lane that Frederick Bailey Deeming is said to haunt, and I actually visited that lane and investigated it because it's got a lot of creepy stories related to this serial killer haunting that particular area of Melbourne. If you want to see that video, make sure to hit subscribe because it's on its way very soon. Another well-known hanging that took place here at the jail was that of Elizabeth Scott, and she was the first woman to be executed in Victoria. She was hanged here in 1863. Now it is interesting to note that many people believe her spirit haunts the jail now. A lot of people have claimed to sight the apparition of a woman believed to be Elizabeth. There's also a lot of reports that come out of the jail of people hearing a disembodied woman's voice. Completely unexplainable, but a lot of people believe that that is Elizabeth trying to communicate with them from beyond the grave. Her ghost isn't the only one thought to haunt this jail though. There is thought to be a lot of former inmates here, and people tend to hear their disembodied voices as they walk through the jails and the cells all the time. There's also been a lot of people to cite the shadow figures of men standing in various cells, as well as some who have said to see people standing at the doorway to these cells with their flesh literally rotting off of their skeletons, which is really gross and creepy actually. There is one cell that is thought to be very notorious for paranormal activity, that is cell number 17. A lot of people have reported strange occurrences when they enter this cell, including being pushed. So there's a lot of interesting history here, a lot of interesting ghost stories. I'm going to take you guys for a tour around. And we're going to get to know this jail cell block pretty well. It's such an awesome place, and not only is it creepy and bizarre for its history, but the place looks absolutely stunning, so let's go and check it out. Alright guys, we're currently on the second floor of this cell block. There is 3 stories, so the floor, second floor and then the third. So if we look up we can just kind of see the roof and all of the other cells lined up. This prison was larger back in the day, but I think that this is the only cell block that still remains now. And if we head down the end, we can see where prisoners were executed and actually hanged. Alright guys, so this is actually the hanging beam, and you can see the trapdoor here as well. There was 133 executions here. by hanging, including a lot of pretty infamous prisoners. So this is definitely a dark area of the jail. Alright guys, this crazy looking apparatus just next to me is the lashing triangle. So lashings were a form of punishment here, and the prisoner would basically lay down on this, have an apparatus to kind of protect their kidneys, and then they would be whipped up to 50 times by a cat o' nine tails, which is a whip with lots of things hanging off of it. So you can kind of see some instruments here that they used for those punishments. They'd be pretty brutal. So I love coming to places like this to learn the history overall, but there's also all these micro stories here. So these are all female prisoners that were held here. Eleanor Mueller, Amy Rowe, we have the same name. This one's Olga, and they have all this information on these people that were imprisoned here. I really like that. It's so bleak just to come into one or any of the cells here, and a lot of them are really tiny, so I don't know if you can get a good grasp of how big this one is just from me being in it. But the other thing that just really hits home is seeing a lot of them with, there's a bed on the floor. It's essentially just a really thin mattress and just a crappy little blanket thrown on it. I mean, a lot of these people were prisoners, were criminals, but I think a lot of people in those times were imprisoned for silly things that they probably were innocent of or shouldn't have been. So, I don't know, it just would have been super tough back then and hard to imagine what it was like. Right guys, so I was mentioning before about all the little micro stories that go along with the jail. It's not just the history as a whole. But we have an interesting one here of William Walker. And this man was actually a hangman or executioner. So a lot of the time these executioners would actually stay in the grounds of the prison before they executed someone. And this guy got tasked, after hanging many people, he got tasked with executing a female, which was quite rare back then, and I mean, not since Elizabeth Scott had a female been put up for a hanging again. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding this. His neighbours were harassing him about it, and his wife even threatened to leave him if he killed a woman. Anyway, a couple of days before this woman was sentenced to die, he actually slit his own throat here at his place where he was living at the jail. And I just wanted to show you the death mask. Death masks are actually mouldings of people's faces. They have quite a lot of them here at the jail. But this is William Walker. And they look strangely peaceful. I mean, they just look like they're sleeping. And I'll show you a couple more death masks throughout this video. It's just something that's really, dark and interesting to me that is prevalent at this jail. Alright guys, we just locked ourselves into room 17. Now there's a couple of room 17s here, and I'm not actually quite sure which is the most haunted one, but we've just locked ourselves in this one. This is during the day, public kind of access. You can come into the old Melbourne Gaol and do a self-guided tour and just wander through the exhibits. I think we're going to try Spirit Box though, because we're here on a Tuesday arvo and there's like nobody here. So I figure we just take this opportunity to reach out because I haven't been able to organise a nighttime investigation. So we'll do the best that we can. Hi, are there any spirits around this jail? My name's Amy and I'd like to talk to any one of you. Can you come close and say hello or tell me your name? What year was it when you were here at the jail? Are you male or female? What crime were you put in here for? And just change the frequency here. Ned, are you here? Can anyone talk to me? Just come close and tell me your name. How old are you? Why do you stay at the jail? Thank you. Alright guys, that felt really dry, like we weren't getting much through at all. So I think I'm going to give it a rest, but this place is still super interesting to explore. I definitely recommend a visit if you're ever in Melbourne. They also do a watchtower tour here, which is kind of fun, like a guard brings you through the watchtower and you get imprisoned there. And it's just kind of cool to see that area of the jail that wasn't opened a few years ago when I was last in Melbourne and visited. So it was nice to see inside there and see, you know, their padded cell and the holding cells as prisoners were going through to become incarcerated here in the main cells. So very interesting place to check out. Amazing, amazing exhibitions here as well that are truly, truly interesting. Not to mention they also do, I think they're close to nightly ghost tours here as well. I've yet to go on one and I'm hoping on this trip I get the chance, but if not, I'm still enjoying just showing you guys around the jail and sharing its history with you all. Alright guys, this one's different. It's also really warm in here for some reason. Just squeeze in with me, Jared. But this cell has a gated bar as well as this thick door here. And I think it was because they kept the most dangerous criminals down on the bottom. So these are a little bit different to the other cells we've been exploring. There's this unfortunate soul in here. And check out, like, he's actually got a ball and chain on his foot.
Whoa.
I wonder how much that weighs.
Probably a lot.
Alright, let me out. It's freaking me out. Alright, this one can actually go in. No way, this is really creepy. Oh, these were worn by prisoners. I thought these were worn by the Hangman.
Oh, was this to stop them talking to each other and stuff?
Yes, this was to move them around in between solitary confinement, which was what these cells were. This was just kind of like a one-person cell here. I don't know what this iron mask was for. This is worn by male prisoners as an additional form of punishment. That thing looks freaking nasty. And these shackles, leg irons here. What the frick are these?
I don't want to know.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Cell number 10.
Oh, what's with this? This door's like blocked off. They must be trying to protect this. Like, this is a museum, guys, and no, it's like wrapped around with rope, and it's weird. Maybe to stop people from like hitting themselves on it, or. Damn, these are for your wrists. I got super skinny wrists.
You're gonna be able to get that off?
I hope so. Yeah. What's this? Come here, Jared.
Button.
Bend over.
No.
Seriously, do it. I can't reach you. You need to come a bit closer. Even closer than that. Closer this way.
Ah,
Did that hurt?
that did hurt. Did you even hit that hard?
Not really. This is an effective tool.
Really
Were you about to bend over again for... Oh, don't. It's like Krampus all over again. Were you about to bend over for another one?
No.
Man, this is brutal. Man, that's heavy. Feel the weight on that.
Just joking. Pretty heavy though. Can anyone guess who was in this cell? Harry Power. Gotcha.
Alright guys, so Ned Kelly is very famous for the homemade body armor that he wore during a shootout, and if you've never seen it before, don't know what it looks like, I'm gonna get Jared to show you right now. You ready for this? That's it.
I don't think I gotta put that on first. I think that's gonna be second.
Is it heavy? No, it's pulling your beanie off. Yeah, you gotta protect that part of your body, definitely. How do you feel? So, this is kind of like Ned Kelly's armor. And this is left here at the prison specifically for kids. Or idiots like Jared. Alright, take that off. No. Yeah. So this is Ned Kelly's death mask and the skull. The skull was supposedly stolen from here in the 70s, but there was no break-in or anything that was kind of discovered. So the glass case that the skull was inside was fully intact. The skull was just missing. And now there's a guy here in WA that supposedly has the skull. So I don't know what the future of that skull is or how this fella got a hold of it, but what do you reckon? Is that Ned's skull?
Lock him up.
Lock him up? Alright. Guys, there's something really cool down here I want to show you. So apparently there's a lot of parts and pieces of the prison that are still being discovered today, and behind this glass here is one of those. These are former punishment cells where prisoners would be locked and completely deprived of all their senses, so just left in the cold and dark, empty room. And this was kind of underground where the former female cell block that doesn't stand anymore was discovered. So anyone who was particularly naughty would have been dumped down there for a good while and kind of been shown a lesson, really. And then if we look up, directly above our heads is the trapdoor for the hanging platform. So this bit's really cool because it's actually the death mask of Ned Kelly. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. If you want to do more reading on any of the haunted places I've visited, head to AmysCrypt.com. You guys can also follow me at AmysCrypt on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for watching, Crypt Keepers. Until next time.